Welcome back to Mr. Steier's classroom. I'm Mr. Steier, and today we're going on a field trip to the Northeast. Today we are going to be using Google Earth and taking a virtual field trip of the Northeast region of our United States. So the Northeast region is going to include states like Maine and New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania. So let's jump right into it. So right here we can see the Earth and North America, including the United States and Canada. What we are going to do is we're going to zoom in here. And on the left side of your screen, you'll see that you have projects. One of the projects that is shared with you in your assignment this week is this exact slideshow, which will take you on a tour of the Northeast. When I open up projects and when you click on projects in your assignment, you're going to want to go into the present mode. Present will take you slide by slide through each of these landmarks in the Northeast of the United States. So as I hit present, what will happen is the first place on our map that we're going to visit is Quoddy Head State Park. This is where we are going to find the Quoddy Head Lighthouse, which is what we actually want to look at. And this particular part of Maine is the first part in the United States where light touches each day. So up here in the upper right-hand corner, I can see that I'm going to get a text box that's going to give me information about the specific location. Quoddy Head State Park. The tribal name of the American Indians living here is the Wabanaki, which means living at the sunrise. And they are. This is the most eastern point of land in the United States. The sun rises here before anywhere else in the country. Now, I also want to show you some of the other features of this particular field trip that you can get a little bit more out of and do some more exploring on your own. So, first of all, I can see that right below this text box, which tells me about this particular location, I have a display setting down here on the bottom. I can zoom out or zoom in using these plus and minuses. I can automatically orientate the map to point north when I look at it. I can switch here from a two-dimensional flat view as a bird's eye perspective to a three-dimensional view like I'm in a drone flying above this particular area. Now, when I'm in my drone view, I can see that my compass continues to change and it tells me what direction. The red is always going to say which direction is north. So as it rotates, it's continuing to tell me which way is, in fact, north. I can also see that right below that, it tells me the latitude and longitude of this specific pin on the map and on Earth. Now, I can use my plus and minus, and I can use my scroll wheel on my mouth, or you can use your two fingers to scroll in. And you can actually zoom into an area, click on the map and drag if you want to see something more specifically. Now, beyond that, for those of you who are new to Google Earth and all of its cool features, one of the really awesome features is you're going to see things like this blue camera pop up. So if I click on this blue camera, it's going to zoom me in to an actual image taken from this visitor center. and it's going to give me more information about this specific lighthouse. So I can fly in to that lighthouse, and it's going to fly me around that specific point. Now, there's also an information bubble. So if I click the information bubble, it's going to tell me information if I wanted to go visit that place today. And the lighthouse is temporarily closed, which is why we're doing a virtual field trip. And there's no way anybody's going to pay for us to get in a plane. Now, the other feature I want to show you down in the right-hand corner is this little map person. So if I grab this person and I drag it, you can see that they turn yellow. My map stops spinning. And what will happen is anywhere blue lines show up or blue dots show up, I can actually drop my street map person, and it will give me a full-on VR 360-degree placement into that spot. So from right here, I can look around, I can click and drag with my mouse, and I can look around and I can see these landmarks as if I am actually standing there. If you had a VR headset or VR goggles, or maybe even Google Cardboard set, you could load your phone into this and be able to look around as if you are actually there. And all I'm doing is clicking and dragging with my mouse left or right, up or down, and in order to get some more images of these sweet landmarks. So in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to get information about this particular location. Upper right-hand corner, information about this location. Lower right-hand corner, those are where your tools are going to be. So you can click on those and you can orientate yourself in order to be able to see more and experience more as we go on this virtual field trip. In the lower left-hand corner, you will notice that there's a table of contents and there are arrows as you would find in a slideshow. Well, this table of contents is going to tell you all of the locations we're going to visit today on our virtual field trip. And if I just use my right arrow key, so here are all the areas we're going to go visit today. And if I use my right arrow key, it's going to take me through our virtual field trip. So right now, we're going to leave Quoddy Head State Park and the Quoddy Head Lighthouse, and we are going to head to Mount Washington. We are at Mount Washington, and again, in the upper right-hand corner, I get information about this particular landmark and location. At 6,288 feet tall, Mount Washington is the highest peak in the Northeast. On a clear day, visitors can see for 100 miles from its top. Mount Washington has some of the world's most severe weather. It can snow here all year long. The peak is also one of the windiest places on Earth. And again, if you wanted to use more of your tools, you can explore Mount Washington more. It is really surprising to me when I look at this, how barren the top of this mountain looks at only 6,288 feet tall. You can use your scroll wheel, and again, you can click on some of these other icons if you wanted to see more of these places. Drop yourself in on the map, pin yourself in there, so you can really get a sense of what it's like to see for hundreds of miles in every direction. Our next stop is Plymouth, Massachusetts. we are here looking at the landing spot for the pilgrims as they came from Europe to seek refuge in this new world, this new America. And here we can see the point at which the Mayflower would have landed, Plymouth Rock, and we can actually see the park and the area in the ocean. And again, if we drop down to our street view location, we can actually walk through this recreation of the Mayflower. And again, we can use those street view arrows and the ability to drag in order to see more of these areas. All right, here we are in downtown Boston, and we are looking at Boston Common, which is a central park in downtown Boston. Boston Common Park is the starting point of the Freedom Trail. The Freedom Trail is a walking tour that takes you to places where the fight for freedom began. The trail ends at Bunker Hill. One of the early battles of the American Revolution was fought near that hill, Bunker Hill. And you can navigate through and follow this brick path along the Freedom Trail if you want to digitally or virtually go on this Freedom Trail historical expedition. The Old State House is a historical building in Boston, Massachusetts, and it is one of the places along the Freedom Trail. The Freedom Trail ends at Bunker Hill and at the Bunker Hill Monument. The Black Heritage Trail also starts near Boston Commons. It's also a walking tour. And on that tour, you will learn about the long history of African Americans in Boston. The trail ends at the African Meeting House. The Meeting House is the oldest African American church building in the United States. Next up, we head to New York. Here in New York City, there's more than 8 million people that live. It's the largest city in America. New York City has always been a city of immigrants. The Dutch were the first Europeans to settle here. People from other parts of Europe and Africa followed. Together, they made New York City a city of many cultures or ways of life. Today, people still come to New York City from all over the world. Just listen to the people talking on the streets. You will hear English, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, Russian, Hebrew, Italian, Korean, and many other languages. The Empire State Building. Are you wondering how New York City finds room for all of these people? The answer is up, in the air. 100 years ago, New Yorkers began building skyscrapers. People live and work in these very tall buildings. The Empire State Building is one of New York City's most famous skyscrapers. This office building has 102 stories or floors. Visitors can go to the very top of the building and look out at the view. You could climb the 1,860 stairs. We are now in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and specifically, you should check out Hershey Park. America's first factories were built in the Northeast. There were two main reasons. One reason was water power. The first factories were built alongside rivers. The rivers rushed down out of the mountains. This rushing water turned big water wheels that made the machines and the factories run. The second reason was people power. The Northeast was a good place for people who wanted to start businesses. Candy maker Milton Hershey was one of these people, and there were many people to work in these businesses. More than 100 years ago, Hershey started a candy business here in Pennsylvania. He used a system called mass production in his factory. Mass production is a way of making very large quantities of the same product. The Hershey bar was America's first mass-produced candy bar. Today, Hershey's factory is the largest chocolate factory in the world. Welcome to Independence Hall. You are looking at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was here that the United States was born. We celebrate our nation's birth each year on Independence Day. The date of our nation's birth was July 4th, 1776. On that day, leaders from the 13 colonies met at Independence Hall to approve the Declaration of Independence. This statement told the world that the Americans had formed their own nation. They called the new country the United States of America. Our last city to visit here is Washington, D.C. Washington is our nation's capital. It is the home of our national government. It is the place where the people who have the power to make rules and decisions for our country do their jobs. The work of our government is important to all of us. The government creates the rules we live by. Picture what life would be like without rules. Our government's laws help to make sure that each person's rights are protected. Our rights include the right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. The government also works for the common good. This means that the government tries to act in ways that serve all people, not just a few. Our government seeks to provide an equal chance for all people. It tries to treat all people fairly. Our government is based on the idea of democracy. The word democracy means rule by the people. One way in which the people in the United States rule is by choosing their leaders. People choose leaders in elections. Voting in elections is a key part of being a good citizen. Now we're going to take a few tour stops around Washington, D.C. Our first stop is the White House. The President of the United States is the head of the executive branch. The president's main job is to make sure that the laws passed by Congress are carried out. The president is also elected. The president lives and works in the White House. Our next stop is the Supreme Court of the United States. The highest court is the Supreme Court. Its home is also in Washington, D.C. In the Supreme Court building, one of the Supreme Court's jobs is to make sure that the laws passed by Congress follows the United States Constitution. The Constitution explains what the U.S. government and its leaders can and cannot do. The Supreme Court also helps make sure that government treats all people fairly. Our next stop, the Washington Monument. The Washington Monument celebrates the first president of the United States. His name was George Washington. This is the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. The Jefferson Memorial honors Thomas Jefferson. He was our third president. Jefferson also wrote the Declaration of Independence. This document says, all men are created equal. It gives some of the main ideas that have shaped our government. And our final stop, the National Archives Museum. In Washington, D.C., you can see the signed copy of the Declaration of Independence. It is at one of the city's greatest museums, the National Archives. Also in the National Archives are the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution in 1791. It lists our most cherished freedoms. Thanks to the Bill of Rights, we have the freedom of speech. We can speak out if we are unhappy with our government. The Bill of Rights also promises us freedom of religion. These are just two examples. Thanks for coming with on this virtual digital tour of the Northeast region of the United States. I really encourage you to go back through the slideshow and do some more exploration using those Google Earth features to see more of these spaces, to investigate more and go on your own virtual vacation as you learn more about the Northeast. It's a really fascinating way to see different places and to connect what's happening in our science, our social studies textbooks with real places on Earth. We're very fortunate to have some of these technologies to be able to do this, and I really encourage you guys to check it out. It is really cool. Well, until our next exploration and adventure together, I will see you. Thanks for joining Mr. Steier's classroom today, and have a great one. Bye.